So I will share. So for those who don't know, Notion have a what's new page, and I'll just share my screen and bring it up. But basically, it's basically where they decide to share all of their sort of exciting updates. So you probably see it. Can you see it in front of me here?
Yep, that's perfect.
Fantastic. So
You've got your
the
act together.
no, hopefully I can go through it all right chronologically. So this is the what's new page, and basically every single time they do an update, they have features and improvements on this left-hand side, and they also have bug fixes here. And typically, Notion release an update round about every month and a half. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty rapidly developing application. So I'll go through a few of the updates and actually share how they're done. So what I'll probably do is I'll share my screen with you guys. If you bear with me a second. And hopefully you'll be able to see the actual demonstration of them. Here we go. So this is my Notion account. As I said, I think I mentioned I use it for myself and also for Keep Productive. So this is a video that I scripted with for Steve, and I obviously I put together some short notes for it. So one of the things that Notion allows you to do in June of last year, they released this PDF export update. So with all of your Notion pages, you can obviously go up in the corner and share them. So for example, you could give public access, or you can invite a person to a workspace, which allows them to collaborate with you. Or you can go to these three dots in the corner. Now, if you go down, you press export, and there's an option to export in a range of different options, HTML, Markdown, and CSV, but there's one called PDF. And what's really nice about the PDF export is you can download it into a PDF, and it looks pretty attractive. So if I go ahead and export this, it should give me a prompt to save it to a certain location. So if I go to save it in downloads, say, and I open this one up, you can see that it pretty much creates this really attractive looking page. And if I, for example, in that one, I had a bit of context around the information that I added there. So that's perfect if you want to send it on to other people. So they introduced better exporting abilities. The other thing they introduced in June 2019 was Google Drive connections. And I haven't got my Google account connected to this one, but all I'd have to do to access that is type in Google Drive. And what's nice is you can embed a document. So you can either embed a link, which is any of your Google Drive files that you may have an edit link for, or you can actually go ahead and choose from all of the sort of files you already have. So in this case, I may have our logo. Maybe I wanted to add our logo for easy access. So there we go. I can quickly get that accessible. So they improve the way that the embeds work, and you can easily access all of that information. So just delete that, for example. They also added this really neat new block. So for those who don't know, if you press the / command, you can open up all of these things called blocks, and they're essentially like building bricks to your Notion pages. So for example, you can have bullet points, headings, you can have tables, boards, lists, galleries. Some of them are more advanced than others, but there's a new one that they released at that time, where it's not so new anymore, it's almost a year old. If you type in call out, it makes your writing stand out. So in this case, I could, for example, say I'm explaining the new, I don't know, rules for the team of parking. Say this is an employee wiki, and I want to be able to, name the document or give an introduction to the document. So I might say, this is the new parking rules for the office building. So you can put those at the top of documents, and they stand out because they've got this lovely grey background. They've got an icon, an emoji which you can change, and it just makes things clearer as you begin. So there's also they also introduced a web clipper for Firefox, and for those who have maybe not used the web clipper before, that's pretty easy to do. So if I were to open up a new tab in Google Chrome, and let's say I went on I don't know, the Guardian here, UK site, 25 best games to help during self-isolation. If I went and chose the Notion web clipper, and this now works on the Firefox version, all you'd have to do is press Save Page. You can add it to a certain area that you already have, and you can add it to a certain workplace that you say already use. So you can actually begin to save this article into your Notion. So that's one of the exciting updates that you may be able to use if you have Firefox. So they actually released 2 updates in July 2019. So this is just past a year now. They introduced this amazing area called Notion Template Gallery. And you can find it by typing in notion.so/templates. And I must say it's one of the best template galleries in existence on a productivity application. There's a main reason because of that. They do have an area for created by Notion, which is created by the company itself. But what I think makes it amazing is there's an entire community that have created really fantastic areas. So if you're looking for health and self-improvement, say you want to be able to get an exercise routine going, that like a habit tracker, you could go into this exercise routine. And as you can see, here's what it looks like. And all you'd have to do is click into here, exercise routine, go up to the top right hand corner and press duplicate. And you can duplicate that into your area, meaning you can use that template instantaneously. So that's one of the many benefits. And in that July 2019 update, they introduced 45 templates, but now it's really expansive, that template network. So that's one of the brilliant things about it. So the other update that they had was in regards to the billing. So if I go to settings and members, if you go down to this page, in this case, I might be able to do it. It should be all the information there. So you can see the billing and information for each of that. So I can open up those invoices and I can see all of the details of each invoice. So they made billing easier for teams to access. So in September 2019, they introduced free educator and student access so that anyone that was an active student or teaching can now get Notion for free. And all you'd have to do to find that information out and actually check if your school or college or university is, let's say, they get access to this, and you can basically get a personal plan for free. So this is their page. If you go to notion.so/students, type in your school username here, and you'll be able to get started. They've got some great examples of some schools that are using it and ways that you could take advantage of it. So this is what you get in the plan. You get a free personal plan with unlimited blocks, no file upload, and priority support as the personal plan. So that's really fantastic. And if you're a total newbie and maybe didn't want to necessarily jump in, you can actually use their sort of demonstration page so that you can see what sort of areas you could build. So as you can see here, roommate space, and you can add all the Wi-Fi and rents that you've got to pay. There's loads. The education templates, I'll just show you actually quickly. The education templates are fantastic. If you go to the bottom left-hand corner, go to templates, you can see education. There are so many fantastic ones. And if you go to the notion.so/templates, you'll find a brilliant, more accessible files. So, for example, Ali Abdal, who's a fantastic YouTuber, medical doctor, has some great templates there. So maybe it's relevant to you, but they also added SAML SSO enterprise login, which makes it easier for enterprises to log in single signer login, I believe it is. So they had a bit of a break. November, they decided to come back with a boost in reliability on iOS, Mac, and Android. And the biggest issue that people were having with their Notion account was the speed on mobile devices. And I definitely think I brought that up when Steve actually, like when we last chatted with Steve, and that was one of the problems with the experience at the time. So that's just one of the things to be aware of course. And the great thing is now that they know that that is an issue, they're actually keeping progressing. And in February, I can show you here actually, they actually put more time and attention into it. So let me just get it up. So in February, they actually released 30 to 50% faster load times on mobile and 20 to 40% faster navigation in pages. So that was a huge upgrade. And also on the mobile applications, they introduced this quick adding ability and also better navigation buttons. So you can see here that you've got search, notifications, and quick notes. So that was dramatically improved. The other thing they added was Notion Search, which a lot of people were actually really wanting. And of course, that was something that they had. So I'll share this with you guys and see how it works. So for example, all you'd have to do, I've got to set up as Control P. You can see here that like all of my most recent pages come up pretty instantly. So you can see like my guide for the indoors. I started writing down a few tips as people start to obviously prepare. And you can obviously like start searching all of those. But you can also begin to search, for other things you've been typing away. And what it does is it search other pages in the descriptions and in the details. But the magic really comes when you press this add filter button. So you can set it to only match titles. So in this case, only 2 of them would appear. You can also choose if you're in amongst a big team, who it was created by. In this case, I could maybe look at only thing Alice is created with Miro on it. Looks like she hasn't created anything there. And I can also choose the editing time as well. So what exact dates was it edited between? In this case, this one was the only one that was edited.
Let me jump in with a quick question,
Yeah, sure.
because the search has come relatively late to Notion, and
Yes,
it's my experience that we kind of learn to just navigate manually through Notion to look for everything. So you use Notion a lot more than I do. So since search has been incorporated, have you incorporated search in your day-to-day Notion use, or do you still primarily rely on manual navigation?
Yeah, that's a good question because you don't really think like you're like, oh, I won't use it. But then the thing that made me start to use it more was when they boosted the page speeds of everything.
Okay.
Because when you were searching before, you would load up the database or something, and it would take a few seconds to load, and you'd be like, oh, okay. But now everything's faster. Search just feels more intuitive to use. That's just
and so but still the question remains, do you gravitate when you go to do something, do you click on into the area first, or do you search? What's your, like when I go into Evernote, the very first, unless it's one of my shortcuts, the first thing I do is fire into the search field just by default. Do you fire into the search field first in Notion, or do you still navigate?
So I've changed. I would say I'd go to search now.
Okay.
And that's mainly in. So I'll just demonstrate. So in this area, in my Keep Productive area, because there's this sort of layout. So if you have this sort of layout, like everything literally splayed in front of you on pages, then search isn't as necessary unless I was, for example, scripting. And I would say, right, I need to do a script, so I'll go to this best tools for new home workers, so I could quickly go to that. But whereas my personal area is as you can see, it's really blocked by these gallery tab that I've created. So if I wanted to do anything, I'd have to go into, individual pages. Whereas if I use the quick search, then I can quickly find, all the badminton games that I play. So you see what I mean? It's like, it depends how you structure your Notion, and like how you've already, if you've got less pages and they're all sort of laid out already, then search isn't as needed. But if you've got tons like I do, then it's probably useful.
Good. Sorry to interrupt. I'll let you wrap things up, and then
No, carry on.
Are you through the updates?
I think I would just double check. So the other things that they added was these. So something I didn't mention, but they've added these. So if you use a tool called Whimsical, which is a flowchart, wireframes, sticky notes, and mind maps tool, you can now embed the whimsicals inside of your Notion account, which makes it easier to view them, which is something that a lot of people wanted. And also in that update with the search, they also added better markdown shortcuts. So for example, if I just go ahead and press the hash, and it should have done that. Didn't like that one for some reason. Okay, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Might be because I'm on a beta, but hey ho. It's meant to normally go into Markdown. So they added some new Markdown where you can use a hash to get H1, which was meant to work, and a little quotation mark to get quotes.
Which really works great if you're writing for the web, if you're writing blog posts, for doing your formatting in Notion so that it comes across into those posts in proper formatting.
Yeah, that's it. Well, TJ's just put in the chat, it's a space after the hash. So I missed that one. That's just being under pressure, that is.
There you go. That's okay. So
lovely.
So the biggest takeaways for me that Notion have done the last 8 months, they speeded up the mobile app, which made it really a challenge to use. They've added a web clipper, which sounds really exciting. It's still not up to this. It's still not up to Evernote snuff, but it's still it's good to finally have a web clipper in it. And the third thing that they've done is search, which was in my mind the biggest shortcoming that they had, was not having a robust search. But they've added robust search, and they give us hope that as we pour more content into Notion, that we're going to be able to retrieve it when we need it and where we need it.
Yeah. That, I think you're right. The major thing for me as a user was particularly the speed. The speed was something that was getting me down near the end of last year. When they made those upgrades to mobile, it means I could use it on the go without worrying that it wouldn't load. I remember back in March last year when I was trying to get some details up at a US airport with all of my details, and I couldn't get it open, and that's when it was bugging a lot of people, and that cost me a lot of time. So
has Notion sort of begun, and for the people who came into the call thinking that we're going to kind of give you an introduction to Notion, I apologize. We could have maybe been a little bit more clear in how we described it. But Notion is its own very unique product. It's something which is, as we said off the top, nobody else compares to. And I'm wondering if you get a sense now that the Notion community is becoming a bit of a cult, as opposed to wherein the people who use Notion are using Notion for literally everything. They're issuing all other applications and assigning everything into Notion and finding workarounds and ways to do. And Notion is becoming their desktop. When they get onto their computer in the morning, Notion is what opens, and they spend most of their day in Notion and maybe a web browser, maybe email, but that's it. They're not going into any other productivity apps. They're not going into Evernote. They're not going into Trello. They're not going into any of the other apps. It's Notion or the road.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot more, and I'm going to be doing a fair few videos as well on it, because like what a lot of people are doing at the moment, I know recently, have been trying to look to save money, obviously, on productivity tools, because it's a bit like TV networks as well. Like you pay for Netflix, then you pay for Disney Plus, then you could pay for Hulu and Hey You or whatever it is, and you just keep adding to that, and it could be a bill of around $15 to $20 a month. But whereas I think people are looking at definitely $5 a month, combining all of their applications into one. It's becoming a lot more of an attractive offer for people, and people are making workarounds. Yes, there are several things that I wish Notion was doing, like introducing the API, improving their offline mode, and also introducing reoccurring events. But I agree, like it's just something I'm seeing more and more every day.
Yeah.
The setups that people are making are crazy.
Bob says kind of like an Evernote community, but in fact, as John says, that it is the Notion cult is much more cult-like than Evernote. I think
Yeah.
philosophically, Evernote is always the product that comes up. Increasingly, I'm believing that Evernote's philosophy is to work with everybody else. Notion's philosophy is to work instead of everybody else.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm going to be writing a few articles soon about this, but I genuinely think if Notion get it right, and they in the next 3 years continue their sort of streak, I think Notion will probably wake you up in the morning at the way they're going, because I think there'll be the app that your productivity center where they wake you up in the morning and put you to bed at night.
So
it's a weird concept.
So they will take over project management, scheduling. They'll take over digital asset management that Evernote does. They will take over. Are people sending and receiving emails within it yet? Is there a hack around that?
No, not yet. But I think they're aiming to be Office, sort of like Office, Microsoft Office.
Okay.
Be the tool that everyone uses for everything, but they've still got years to come. I think the next 2 years are going to be pretty exciting.
And that brings up Russell's question: is do you have any fears of putting your eggs all in one basket? Now you don't, because of what we do, use multiple tools. You and I you're still using Evernote, for example.
I am, yeah.
But what's your sense of that? There was a time early on when there was a real fear that we were putting too much into Notion, and the mistrust we had a year and a half ago in Evernote kind of exacerbated that, made us far more hyper aware of putting all of your eggs in one basket. Where do you sit on that now? Where do you think the community sits?
I think people are becoming a lot more relaxed to it, especially like in the sort of online world. But my issue is, I think I will put more and more into it as they get an offline mode, because the thing that they have like a micro offline mode, but I think a lot of people have issues when they're typing everything up in, say, an airport without any Wi-Fi, or on the plane without any Wi-Fi, and then losing all of that. There's been one or two of a couple of cases of that, but really when they get an offline mode, I think that's when people will actually go, okay,
that's the next big hole. That's the next big thing to look for, is a complete offline solution.
I think within 6 months, yeah. I don't know anything that people don't know, but.
And Notion has the same issues that Evernote would have as far as security goes. You have to be careful. You can't literally store everything in it. You have to be careful of what you store, because you have the same cloud-based issues that Evernote has, right?
Yeah, they use. There's a few things still to note. Evernote stores locally as well, some PDFs, so you can actually open them locally. Whereas Notion uses AWS, Amazon Web Services, to load up inside of a web page. And I think someone commented there as well about, I think it was Craig who said about content encryption. That's still not available inside of it.
Yeah, TJ said, I'd love to be able to encrypt or password protect. So they've still got the same blind spot as Evernote.
Yeah, I mean, they have some small things where, for example, if you're inside of a team, you create this lovely database that you don't want anyone else to touch. You can do what's called a lock on it. So you can lock it so that any pages don't get disrupted if other people come in and edit them. But aside from that, there's no encryption, there's no passwords. I believe there's two-step authentication from memory, but you know, at the same time, they do need to step that up naturally.
So one thing I will point out to everybody is when we send you the follow-up email, I will send a link to Francesco's 6-minute overview, which he worked so hard on. So you'll get the video of that as well. So everybody will have that. I think you should just turn that into a Notion update that you post to YouTube, Francesco. It's a good
I was
video.
planning, yeah.
Are you planning on doing
Yeah,
it?
I'll do it.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going through some of the questions here for you right now.
Yeah, what I'll do maybe in a minute is I can share a few of the ways that I'm using it now if you want.
Okay, we will. Let's deal with this one, which comes up almost every time we do it. Is there any concern that Notion uses a Somalian domain? That was something that came up because it's .so. Do you want to? They've got a stock answer for that. What do they say about it?
I asked them and they just said I think it was because the Notion domains were taken, so they just went with something a bit quirky. But like I think maybe you'll find out, Darcy, that a lot of, for example, especially now, a lot of businesses that have either VPNs or network limits detect that, and then it causes a problem with their network, so that they ban the site because they think it's a dodgy site. But I've got no, I met the team. they're real people.
Where are they based? Where are they based, Francesco?
San Francisco. So they're the classic startup sort of.
I think if they had to do it over again, they probably wouldn't do it with the Somalian site, but they have.
Yeah. Let's just go with it.
So I'm just going through, and I think we've answered most of the questions. So were you going to share? What were you going to share? Share your. Were you going to share your setup?
Yeah. I was going to just share how it's sort of evolved, so I can share around the sort of ways that I use it right now. So
this is the thing that Notion people love, is they love to see what other people do because it gives them ideas of what they can do, because it's such a building block. And literally Notion is a series of building blocks, and each block you can assign different assets to and different attributes, and you can assemble it into your own way. It's the Meccano set of all Meccano sets for building online content.
That's the perfect way to describe it. And I think what I'm sharing now is like first day. If you go on it, this is probably not the most recommended setup because it's a little bit more advanced. But at the same time, I think some of the pages are really relatable. So I think what's good is each time I always recommend a 3-month audit of your Notion. So you literally just upgrade it every 3 months. So it suits your sort of lifestyle better. So I have 5 main areas. I've got life, got the baby, which will be coming up, finance, work, and inbox. So for example, in my inbox,
I thought you were going to show us the baby and we'd figure out what the name is from all from your notes.
From the pictures, yeah. No, so the inbox is, I do my week reviews in here. So I literally just start dumping ideas, things that I'm working on, and I can just sort of go over them, tick them off as I do them. It could be anything, like print photos for nursery, book cooking day. So that's really just a dumping ground, and you can create pages in there anytime. If you press a / command, press page, and you can just start making notes if you want to, just simple bullet point notes. But yeah, my inbox is just a way for me to sort of clear that out, and maybe when I'm done with stuff, I just delete it or move it to another area if it's relevant. But I have a life area. So the life area is sort of broken down into sort of 4 slots. I've got one called daily. So daily is basically this template I created. And it's hard to explain, but there's databases in Notion, and you can create templates inside them. So if I press this day template, as you can see, this is almost like my dashboard for the morning. So I can go through my morning routine, had a cup of tea, quick journal entry.
Do you really need to check off that you had a cup of tea?
I know. I
You
do.
sometimes forget to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just nice.
But you know what? But you know,
Like,
I
this is
tease
an
you. But other
example.
people I've seen do this, and they tick off every time they drink a glass of water because they're measuring how much water they're drinking and stuff like that, and they're trying to make sure
Yeah,
that they get their X number of ounces in a day and those sorts of things. So there are.
yeah,
So a cup of tea might seem a little bit trite, but if it's your morning medication that you sometimes forget, that act
perfect. Yeah,
of ticking it off is a good thing.
yeah, that's it. So you could alter this to be so much more important than just that, just more and stuff.
Craig's
Got
asking me to go easy on you.
Yeah, yeah, brutal. Focus tasks here. And you could also put your events today, fitness you done, and to review. So I've started to use this template area, which is fairly new. I've got a few scenarios here. So anything that I'm like worried about these days, you can see there's probably like a few things that are relevant.
Yeah, okay.
I just start like writing any notes that I've picked from. So not worried about, but say like I'm hopefully expecting a tax rebate, so I start listing all the stuff that I would put the money towards. So it's these scenarios that sort of pop up in everyday life. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm going to sort of add more over time.
Now, do you share any of this? Is this any? Are any of these documents shared? Or are they only for you?
For the moment, this is only for me. I have a few that I share, and it's mainly around this badminton one I share with a friend, and he can then see all of the sort of scores. And this is only a demo area, but I just go up here and press public. I make sure it's not allowable in search engines, and I don't allow the duplication as a template. And that means that they can just see it and read it whenever they want. So
So is it just
that's
for your
what's been
opponents
handy.
in badminton? Who wins most often?
You can see the scores here, Steve.
I can't tell who won though. Oh, winner,
Oh,
there it is. Oh,
Dan,
I see no
Dan,
Francesco's as winner there. I see it. Dan. Dan's kicking your ass.
yeah, 167 games to 53.
Wow. Oh, you're
So
Fran. I think of
yeah, I'm
Francesco.
Fran. Yeah.
Oh man.
So
You keep
I'm
going.
losing
You
bad.
keep climbing that mountain. He's
Yeah, I will. I'll try and that's 2 years worth of games though. So you know it'll be all right. But
I'm sure
I
he
use this
appreciates
to.
you.
Yeah, he does. He likes beating me every other week. So um, that I use it to manage the house as well. So I've got a little house one here. For example, like renewals for like home and contents insurance, all that sort of when they renew, warranties when they renew, issues with the house that has come up, that I can fix them, and what's happened. Mortgage. I even have one for suspicious activities. So anything say that I'm worried about in the local area that I've seen, I'll write it down. Maybe I'm like being a bit of a weirdo, but it just helps to tally all that stuff up.
It's a peek inside Francesco's mind. So
Yeah,
Arjan says Notion does not seem to gain any more integration with, for example, with OneDrive, and
yeah,
Notion doesn't seem to be overly concerned about it. There's still no integration with Zapier, which a lot of people find fairly frustrating. But it's just, I don't think that it's something that we're going to look for a lot. It's not high on Notion's trying to be all things to all people, so they're not really trying to work with anybody.
yeah. It's I think they will though. I think the API is still hot on their cards, but I think what will probably happen is I don't know anything more than the average person, but I think they'll do some sort of app directory inside of the application,
Yeah.
where, for example, you can just say, okay, build me this that connects to these 4 apps, and it helps sort of work. So, for example, I could build a blog calendar that sets a Zapier that connects with a Slack and a Trello. I don't know.
The
You probably wouldn't
Dropbox,
need that.
maybe.
Yeah, a Dropbox. That's it. That'd probably be better for thumbnails, for example. So when you do all the work inside Notion, it starts actioning these micro steps.
So
That's what I think.
will it actually provide, does it do some of the things that a Hazel does where it will actually take and invoke a process? Like it'll take this file, compress it, and then upload it to a location?
No, it does. That's what I mean. It is literally static in terms of communicating with other
Okay.
apps.
So you'd have to,
Yeah.
you'd have to go outside. Craig comments, he's asking about the sharing feature. I think what he's asking is if you, how much control you have over sharing, if you can set up timed access and automatically close access to a shared file, or if you have to go in and manually change the status of the document.
So that's a good question. So I'll move over to this one. So say, for example, here, I share this with Alice, who's another workplace member. So this is a 2-member workspace. But what I can do is go over to settings and members, and I can actually access what she sees and how much access she has. So she can become an admin, which gives her settings, and she can invite new members, or she can just have membership access. What I could do, I think, per page. So if I were to go to the team page, so I can invite an extra person, and I can give them specific access. So I can be like, okay, they're only getting editing access, or they're only getting commenting access or read access, or they can just have full access. So I could say, okay, I'm going to invite Alice, and she can only comment on this page. So there she does. She'll pop up here, and you can modify what she sees. So that's one of the benefits. Yeah.
Would you say the preponderance of users are now team users or personal users?
What's great is it's probably, I'm going to say 40, 60, 60% personal, 40% teams, just on a rough estimate. And I think that teams are, the good thing is they're getting obviously the good sort of, like with Evernote, I think they struggled because they couldn't get the sort of vast team revenue that normally comes in.
Yeah, the Evernote for Business
Yeah.
never really took off, but that was a misguided product.
Yeah, but now I think because Notion's got so many startups and also big teams using it, and we've done a couple of videos on the channel about like teams that are about 100 that are using it. So they obviously, jump straight in.
They're finding some real value there, yeah.
Yeah, so some of the other security, I think somebody mentioned like email domain setup and things like that. This is the enterprise plan, so you can do a lot more on this, but just this area for sake, you can actually disable guests, so you can invite guests to your area. You can disable moving pages to other workspaces so that it doesn't, transfer data out of your workspace. And I believe that you can prevent members from sharing pages publicly. So there are some security sort of add-ons that you can have inside of just a team plan. Yeah.
And the publishing engine is quite robust. Craig's asking if you can share a page to the world so you can use it as a publishing platform, the way that we kind of use Evernote occasionally. And you've got all of that. You can definitely make a page completely public. So you can use it to publish. If you wanted to use it to publish a blog or something like that, you'd be okay, right?
Yeah. So this is one I created today, my guide for the indoors. And I've just started like dumping stuff in here of just ideas and thoughts. And I go share, and I copy. And what's nice is with anything like this.
Could you drop that link in chat?
Yes,
drop it in chat so people can look at it themselves, right, dynamically, right? Is it designed to share with the public? Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I shared it on today. So if I were to go back to this and say edit this in real time, I could say remote employees can benefit.
Perfect.
Like, so this literally updates in real time, and it just works really smoothly. And I can tell you, I honestly, when maybe I'm a little bit faster than say the average person on Notion, but I took maybe 8 minutes to create this entire page. I mean, not much information on it, but everything, including the contents page and all of this.
Here's the thing that warms my heart about Notion to a certain extent, and I hate comparing to Evernote all the time, but we still have to because that's the tool that I use, that I do most of my stuff in. is when I just opened this page, and there you've got embedded in this page a video. That's so sweet.
Yeah, it
So
is.
sweet.
Yeah, and you can play it right within it, and
I
you can even add a
know.
little caption.
It's so nice.
Yeah, so if I wanted to expand it a little, and I say wanted to put it up here, obviously it goes as a full video. So
Yeah,
it's
there's you know, there's some real it's not behind on everything. It's certainly ahead on some things. It's behind in integration and some other aspects. But yeah, that is, as Deb says, that is a really nice feature. That's it. That's the one thing that I just drives me crazy. Evernote would be so much more useful to me if it had A, security, which Notion is not much better at, and B, the ability to embed video. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. But it's absolute gem this for that.
This has been terrific. So Francesco has worked with us and developed a course on using Notion. If you're intrigued by the concept of Notion, you know, just visit Francesco's channel, and he's got so many videos walking through the basis of it. But I believe that I think that Notion is one of the ones that you have to be patient, and you also have to be willing to kind of, I think to use Notion properly, you have to be willing to probably put on your blinders once you've decided to use it, and not worry too much about what all the other applications are doing, because you are going to try and do almost everything in Notion. Having said that, the community is so robust, and how they share and how they creatively put together the workspaces is incredible. And the back end of Notion is so advanced compared to many of the other apps that we use. The fact that there's a fully relational database at the heart of it, that's kind of why I compare it to Airtable in my mind in a lot of ways, is you can do so many of those really sophisticated database type applications if you choose to. So it's going to be a force, but I believe as well, I think we hit a nail on the head when we said it's going to be a cult too. And and those of us who just occasionally go to church on Sunday, we might not quite see all the value of the cult, and it might make our heads spin a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've literally seen, like, for example, in the evening, if my wife says stuff to me, I go, "We should make a Notion database for that," and she goes, "Oh God."
You got to stop that.
Yeah, I know. It's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, the fact that you even got a Notion workspace for the baby concerns me just a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit too prepared. I think it's actually got, so I don't know whether you want to do this now, Steve, but I've built I'll just show you it actually.
I'm just going to say my daughters are all into this anagram stuff. I think they would have a field day with you right now.
What's an anagram thing?
It's your personality based on this numbering system.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody will comment and they'll start. Actually, there's so many fans. I bet you somebody is already going to have diagnosed you and given you a number here right now. Yep, there it is. Oh, no, Craig said my number 666. That's not true.
I want to know it now. I'm curious. Yeah, we did this. Like, I was just getting annoyed with everyone texting us like bets on what the gender and the weight of the baby will be and what date they did. So I've basically made a Notion database for it.
So it's a pool.
Yeah. So I can see like average weight and what sort of dates they have. So it's mad.
There we go. It's good to know what everybody's saying. And the date. There we go. Good. Well, next time we talk to you, you'll be a dad.
Yeah. I know. I might not even have time, Steve.
And the world will be a better place. We'll have a delicious Delessio in the added.
That's it. Yeah.
That's exciting. I think don't agree with Steve. If you knew how much happier I am writing everything down, you would leave me alone. I respect it. Don't get me wrong. I just like to tease Francesco. So and he does tend to go overboard a little bit, but that's that's our personality. So we're dropping a link. Can April drop a link to your course, because we've got this terrific Notion Made Easy course where we teach where Francesco teaches you how to use Notion. It is a game changer for those people that embrace it, And in the last year, it's really come a long way. A year ago, when we started on our journey with Notion, I think we all kind of looked at it with a lot of hope. And I think that a lot of that's been borne out. And the fact that they've addressed 3 or 4 of the most glaring shortcomings in the product in just their first real year. This is, I mean, they've been around for 3 years now, but this is the first year that they've really had the wind in their sails, I think. Is it 3 years? It's 3 years it's been around? Yeah.
Yeah, roughly, yeah. It's going mainstream this year, so
yeah. So let's wrap things up. Francesco, thanks so much. Appreciate
thank you, Steve.
Appreciate your time.
And I was going to say, if anybody looks to get the course as well, like late next week, we'll probably be doing maybe an hour to an hour and a half live workshop to help you go through sort of setting up your Notion for the first time. So you can definitely take advantage of that. Yeah,
it's in every instance is going to be unique, and every instance is going to be different. Giving you folks a heads up, there will be a replay sent out with the full video in it. Well, actually,
you did great for file. Plan B, Francesco.
Yeah, good job.
Oh, thank you.
Completely threw you under the bus. I owe you.
Thank you. It's amazing, your knowledge on Notion. We appreciate it, and good luck. Good luck.
The good news is,
yeah,
Francesco, once he has the baby, he's going to forget what we put him through today because he's going through so much more. That's it.
Yeah, this is nothing. No. I believe I shared my 17-year-old story. So
yeah. Next week on Webinar Wednesday, we're looking at online payment systems. There's a couple of not just payment systems for how you collect money, but most importantly, how you move money around. We live in a multinational world today where we're in different countries and we have to move funds from one person to another. And it used to be a really difficult and challenging proposition. There are some products on the marketplace today, which actually we use. Everybody here in this call use that has just changed the landscape dramatically in how we move money around. And of course, how we also collect money for different online ventures. Farley's being very insistent right now.
Also, don't forget we have a great live coming up on Friday.
Oh yeah. Yes, you're right. We have Mark Schaefer joining us as we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the virus and how we're dealing with it as marketers and online people who do our business online, and it's different ways of coping and maybe minimizing the impact on our business lives as much as possible. Obviously, we don't know where it's going on a global basis, but what can we do personally that will help things out a little bit? Francesco's got lists. Could you share your list of what we should all do? Maybe that's one of the ones.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's prepping, you know.
So, is there anything else, April, that I left out?
Thank you to our Patreons. We appreciate your support.
Yes,
you did it earlier.
That's the top. And if you drop by patreon.com/Dottotech and see, we've got all sorts of perks that include Webinar Wednesday replays where you can replay each and every one. This replay will be going out to you tomorrow, and it's available for 3 days. After that, we will archive it for our patrons. It will have Francesco's wonderful video and any links that we talked about in today's session. Francesco, I should warn you, when I end the session today, it ends for everybody. There's no green room that we go back to, so you will all of a sudden be staring at a blank screen saying,
"Oh, so all Steve's pain will go away for you."
Have a nice night's sleep. Yeah.
There we go. Thanks, folks. Well, make sure you follow. Make sure you follow Francesco on YouTube and keep up with his updates on Notion. Those that are interested, and to TJ and all of the people that contributed so much in the chat. Thank you, guys. You guys did a terrific job of helping.
Thanks so much
and answering the questions. All right, till next week.
Next month,
Friday, if you join us for our live stream. Have fun storming a castle.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Wash your hands.
Thank you.